Mr. B XRP here, and welcome back. I've got a great video for you today. Some great clips from Swell, a cautionary tale, and the market seems to start. It's starting to move up a little bit, and I know everyone's bracing for the XRP ETFs to get launched, and we keep hearing next week is the week. So let's hope that that estimate is right, because we're all ready to see that go. Let's see, the fear and greed index, it looks like right now is at 27, which is just fear. So people are still a little bit fearful, but we are in the green today. So that's good. Bitcoin is at 103,321. Ethereum's at 3,391. Tether is holding comfortably at $1, and XRP's at $2.30. So we're finally moving up in the right direction. There's so much stuff that came out of Swell yesterday that, I think this didn't get a lot of attention, and it should have. Ripple Swell, we're collaborating with MasterCard, WebBank, and Gemini to introduce RLUSD settlement on the XRP ledger for fiat credit card payments, starting with the Gemini XRP credit card. This initiative sets a new benchmark for institutional efficiency, enabling faster, compliant, and more transparent settlement within traditional finance. The future of payments is here. Let that sink in for a second. Ripple is now a partner with MasterCard, okay? So if MasterCard is going to use RLUSD in settlement for their payment flows, once again, and I constantly harp on this, people will say, but they're not using XRP. Well, here's the thing. You can't use RLUSD without using XRP to move the RLUSD across the XRP ledger. So it is absolutely great for XRP. That is fantastic news. That's the news that I think didn't get enough attention. John Deaton had posted this on Twitter yesterday. 3 years ago, I said Brad Garlinghouse was arguably the best CEO in crypto. Some folks disagreed. Ripple's latest valuation, evidenced by the $500 million investment from Citadel and Fortress, is now $40 billion. I believe my comment has aged well. And John, you were absolutely right. And I agree with you 100%. So look, this is the cautionary tale, right? When we saw the market, I think it was October 10th, I went out for a pizza. My wife sent me out to go pick up a pizza, looked at my phone, XRP was sitting at, I don't know, it's $2.68. I got back 20 minutes later with my pizza, and it had wicked down to $1.25 and was below $2. It was an insane moment. The whole market crashed, and everyone's aware of it, right? You guys know. But here's the thing, right? It's a few weeks later, but listen to what Maple co-founder Joe Flanagan gives a breakdown on crypto market over the past month while speaking at Chainlink SmartCon. So listen to this. I agree with this gentleman 100%.
When you have such a violent event like what happened on October 10th and the biggest liquidation in history, it's natural that a couple of weeks later you actually start to see the repercussions of that. And so what we've seen is that there's a lot of fear around of, well, who actually lost money in those events? Which market makers lost money? Where the liquidations have occurred? And it takes a little bit of time for that information to flow through the system and for people to transparently report what those things are. And so that's what the last 7 days have been, is people trying to uncover who has been impacted by those October 10th events.
I just don't see how any of the current yield generating models that I've seen so far, and I could be wrong, but I don't know how they didn't get liquidated. I mean, and as he said, it takes a few weeks for these things to show themselves. And usually they start to show themselves when people try to withdraw. If they try to withdraw their XRP or sell their XRP, that's when they're going to find out that something occurred. You just can't, you could not have been leveraging XRP at that moment and not gotten crushed. I just can't imagine it happening. So that is a cautionary tale for everyone. And I on my channel, if you're watching my channel every day, I talk about iTrustCapital. These guys are the most conservative, compliant people I've ever worked with. I know the people there. I know the founder. I know the executive team. These guys are as straight-laced and buckled up as they come. So if you're looking for a safe place to keep your XRP, you don't have to open up an IRA, which is a great idea, by the way. You should have an IRA, and you should look into a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, whichever suits you best. But also they have their premium custody account, which offers you institutional grade custody at no cost to you. It's a fantastic way to hold your digital assets, and you're not a big target for hackers because no one can steal your crypto, because the crypto never leaves the iTrust institutional cold wallets. It's cash in, crypto in, cash out. And their CEO hinted that yield is coming soon to iTrustCapital for XRP holders. So if you're interested, please check the link in the description of my video, and let's carry on and get into these Swell videos. Oh, by the way, if you use my link for iTrustCapital, you get a $100 funding bonus if you're a new customer. Okay, let's listen to, there's a couple of short, this is a 5-minute clip of Brad Garlinghouse, but I have a couple of short pieces I want you to listen to. Let it rip right now.
All right, let's talk about XRP. How does XRP fit into your larger M&A strategy?
Well, XRP, and I sometimes have to remind the world of this, but XRP is at the heart and soul of what Ripple is doing. We care deeply. We have called it our North Star. But at the end of the day, we want to do things that are good for the XRP ecosystem. We want to build trust in XRP. We want to build utility in XRP. And we want to build liquidity in XRP. And each of the acquisitions we do, in one way or another, we believe it will do those things.
It's all about the XRP.
Some people might look at it and be like, I don't really, scratch their head a little bit. Well, I promise you that we see in the three-dimensional game of chess, we see how we believe that's going to evolve. Sometimes we'll probably do things that are more obvious and some less obvious. That's okay with us.
Right.
Let me jump to
grow, absolutely.
Right here.
And it's because of that potential that we see that an ETF issuer said a spot XRP ETF will likely launch next week or shortly thereafter, even with the government currently shut down. We've seen that happen with the Solana spot ETF and the Litecoin spot ETF as well. What does having a spot XRP ETF mean for the coin specifically and for Ripple broadly?
Well, look, I think anytime you are seeing the kind of trust and institutional dynamic of an ETF, making it easier to access and bringing capital into the XRP ecosystem, that's good. It's not lost upon me, ETH as a token was kind of lagging the market in terms of the overall market activity in the spring. And then the ETH ETFs went live and ETH went on a tear. I don't think that's a big surprise.
All right.
We saw people easier access coming in. I think the first ETH ETF, grew to $1 billion, very, very quickly. I can't remember the exact timeline. But I think you're going to see that happen in the XRP ecosystem because there's a lot of demand from people who don't have the skill set or interest in launching a Coinbase account or what have you, and they want to have exposure to this asset class. So I think it's overdue. It's frustrating that some of these things have taken so long, but I'm not yet saying it's going to happen next week. I know people on the panels have said it's happening next week. I've heard that said before, so I'm not going to count on it. But it's obviously very, very soon, and I think that's good for the industry.
So he said ETH went on a tear when they lit up the ETF, and he expects XRP will be no different, which I think everyone is expecting the same thing, and we're all just sitting waiting, and we've waited for so long in the XRP community, and this is a really, really big moment. This is a quick 14-second clip from that same interview.
I guess it's not surprising then that the banking industry is not exactly thrilled about this.
The bank doesn't want competition because they've done a shitty job of serving their customers.
So, it's funny, like in the early days, Brad Garlinghouse was wooing the banks and meeting with the banks and talking to the banks. They are just tired of trying to deal with banks, and now they're just positioning themselves where the banks are going to have to come to them, and they really have turned the tables on this whole thing for sure. This came out from Cointelegraph. It says update: XRP ledger sees 21,595 new wallets in 48 hours, highest network growth in 8 months per sentiment. So what caused the spike in new wallets on the XRP ledger in 48 hours? I mean, over 21,000 new wallets. Look at the chart. It's insane. Like, it couldn't have been Ripple Swell. I mean, could it? I don't know. I have no idea what this what the cause is. It's really, really interesting and good to see. So, now those wallets, we have to see if they get funded and if those folks start buying XRP with those wallets. Let's give another drop into this other clip of Brad Garlinghouse at Swell.
All right, with that, I'm going to end with Ripple has been ready for this moment. The XRP community has been ready for this moment. I'm thrilled you are on this journey with us. It is definitely happening. Thank you very much.
And he also mentioned at some point yesterday that next year's Ripple Swell is going to be opened up to everyone that wants to go, including the XRP community, which I think is great. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to check out here, and then I'm going to play out a last video of Brad Garlinghouse and let you listen to this one. And in this last clip, I believe it is, Patrick Witt and Brad Garlinghouse. I want you to hear that. So I'm going to let it play out after my video's over. So that's it for this one. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey, if you're still here and you haven't subscribed, you're obviously my people. So it's time to subscribe. Share my videos with anybody who you think might like them, and hit the like button. Always do your own research. If I didn't say it, this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. See you next time. Bye-bye. Here's the clip.
I would just say the future is very bright for this industry, and there are companies that are going to sprout up here in the space that probably aren't even in existence yet. And there's going to be just amazing efficiencies unlocked. It's going to integrate into the existing financial system. Stable coins are going to proliferate around the globe. So I think you're going to be talking about market cap into the tens of trillions, even beyond what it is right now at 4 or 5 trillion. So there's going to be growth. There's going to be a lot of innovation in the space. There are plenty of companies in this space that are building the infrastructure for this financial future. And pretty quickly, they're going to start to understand that, Bitcoin is not XRP, is not, name your other token out there. And they're, depending on the asset manager, they're going to find their places where they want to have exposure. Do they want to be exposed to the companies that are building that financial future? Do they want to be, exposed to, Bitcoin, Ethereum, others? But I think you'll see that number. I think 50% that aren't, exposed to, it's going to dwindle. I think, you think a lot of Democrats like to fashion themselves as being, pro-progress and, pro-innovation. Well, they kind of left the crown in the gutter and allowed, the president and Republicans to pick it up. And we were more than happy to, not only because we believe it's, good politics, but it's good policy, and it's pro-American. We are the innovation capital of the world, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure that innovation takes place here at home. Because I think what you saw during the Biden era is there were a number of folks that believe that if we just kind of bury our heads in the sand and drive this, away, then crypto will go away. That was obviously not the case. It flourished. It just didn't flourish here at home. So we have an opportunity to catch up, and we need to make sure that we got Genius done with stablecoin bill. Market structure is the next one, and we need to leap back into first place in this new era of financial innovation.